Good morning and welcome to The Chair. My name is Amy Bauman and we meet here every Tuesday live on Facebook at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If this is your first time joining us, we are so glad that you're here. But if you have been watching every week, I just so appreciate the text messages and the little messages that I've been receiving, how special weeks have been so important to you. And I just appreciate all of the positive, loving feedback that I've been getting. And I'm so glad that you've been watching. And I'm so grateful that it's been a blessing to you. I have been so excited to get to this part. We are doing interviews starting today. And for the next couple of weeks, we'll be interviewing women that are going to be on the conference, the Finding Joy Again conference, coming up November 7, which will feel like a live experience. And so I've been so anxious for you to meet the people that are going to be a part of this event and hear a little bit about their stories and how God has been working and moving in their life and what's brought them to this. And so today you're going to hear from my very special friend, Susie Antkowiak, and hear a little bit about what the journey that she's been on and her role in the conference. And I know that you're going to love her. So let's break for that and get right into the interview. And I just pray that it will be a blessing.
Susie.
Good morning.
Good morning. I have been so excited to interview you and talk about, you've been with me since the very beginning.
Yes.
And so I want to talk about a little bit about that this morning. We first met when I was working at Bauman Building.
Yes. And you were the smiling face that I would walk into and just had such a peace about you. It was so cool just to walk in. I remember you were almost always wearing a jean jacket. That's what I remember about you.
Well, I was cold sitting at the front door. I think that was part of it, but
yeah.
So we first met that way through Bauman Building. You were doing some advertising through Joy 99. And then back in 2000, I think it was 19, when I wanted to start doing some advertising about the Finding Joy Again class.
Yes.
I reached out to you and we met.
Yep.
And had coffee. And like all of a sudden, it was like God was just moving.
He was moving. He was putting pieces together.
Yes, and I said, wouldn't this be amazing to do like a conference sometime? And you're like, oh, well, I could lead worship and I could tell my story. And then it wasn't long after that I was calling you saying, okay, you want to do this?
Right.
So you've been with me from the very beginning, good and bad, because obviously this year, the beginning of the year, we had to cancel all of our venues.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that for yourself.
Okay, so my initial thought on that was, wow, the devil must be afraid that he puts a global pandemic in place so that we can't do the truth tour.
Amen.
He was shaking. He was quaking in his boots. And not that the COVID is not our fault. Let me just say that.
No.
But I was disappointed, obviously, because I was super excited. I felt like God had been confirming things in both of our lives, that the steps forward were the truth tour, and that he had given us a story to tell, and we needed to be bold and tell it, and we needed to get people to that place of restoring their joy, and that can only come through Jesus. And so I knew that it was a spiritual battle that was keeping us from doing the truth tour. And we all felt it in the second that we announced the truth tour publicly, we started feeling the spiritual attacks. And so that's when you know that God is doing something. He's working, because the devil doesn't mess with those he's not afraid of. He just lets them be. But when he is scared because he knows that kingdom moving is going to be happening, that's when he starts attacking. And we could all feel it. It was all four of us that were initially on the tour. It was our personal lives. It was, and he dismantled stuff hard. He was fighting, but God is bigger, and God had a different plan, which brings us to today.
Amen. So we lost two of the women.
Yes.
They had both spent time in prayer once we started canceling, and they both felt led to go in different directions, which they had things that they were doing. God was working.
Right. Yep.
So we love that. And you and I were kind of like, okay, what's going to happen now?
Right.
And I know we really spent for those first couple of months just really praying and letting God tell us what the next step was. And I think, I don't know actually how it happened. Remind me. We both felt like this was going to need to happen virtually. I think we had a conversation like, what do you think about virtual? Because
Right.
everything was happening, but we were missing 2 women.
Yes.
And
Yep.
so I believe one woman came to mind for me.
And it was almost the same time,
Yeah.
like the same week that I actually met Beth at Mel Trotter. She was my contact there, and brand new contact. And we started talking, and she actually read my truth to her bio and was like, oh my goodness. She actually copied and pasted part of it back into a message to me. And it was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm hearing my own story. So it was just a God thing that he was putting this person in place. And I reached out to you and I was like, Amy, I have somebody that I would like you to talk to. And you were like, I just made an offer to somebody that I think God is moving on. So, which was Lucy. And so God was just like instantly, again, putting the pieces in place that he wanted to put there to bring this truth to her about. And just super excited. And it went from being a women's conference to being open to everybody, which is huge too, because I don't know that when we go forward live that it will be that. We don't know what God's doing, but initially it was a women's conference and now it's open to everyone, all ages, all sexes, everything. Anybody that God has planned to be there will be there.
So what does this, I don't want to give away too much of your story because I'm so excited for you to be able to share that on November 7th. But tell me a little bit about what you're going to be able to bring to the people watching, how God has reformed and redeemed your life.
So I think the biggest thing for me is that people make assumptions when they see people about what their life was like and what they've had to deal with and how they got to be who they are. And I've had a lot of assumptions made about me because I went to college and I have had a successful career and I married a man who is now an attorney. And so they make assumptions about who Susie is. They have no idea what God has brought me through to get me to this place. Yes. And my life was broken, completely broken. My self-worth, and can you toss me that Kleenex? My self-worth was in the toilet, literally. And I was suicidal in college, and God saved me from that by revealing himself in a big way to me. And he changed my mindset. And when people look at you and assume who you are, what you've been through, they don't always see your heart behind things because they don't know. And so God has opened the door for me to be able to talk to, oh, bless your heart, thank you, to be able to talk to specifically women who have suffered from depression, who have suffered from total lack of self-worth, self-image, women specifically who have suffered with infertility and loss. We lost 5 babies getting to our first and struggled through years of infertility, which caused a deeper depression. Yes. So there is a lot of healing that God had to do in my life and in my heart, and I'll get into that more on the tour. But then I think that I can help this tour by helping people to understand that no matter what your story is, no matter what you've come through or what's been done to you or what you've done to others, we have a God who wants to redeem and restore. He is the author of our story. Amen. We can't let anyone else label us. We can't let anyone else dictate our mindset. That's up to us. We need to have the tools to get there because it's not always just an instant thing. And it's not always an organic thing. Sometimes it takes a conscious, most of the time, it takes a conscious choice to move past, move forward, and only God can do that successfully. He's the one that holds your hand through that and lifts you out of it. So Amen. That's what I want to bring to the tour. Is just a story of redemption to give somebody else hope that maybe has been through what I've been through or something similar or knows somebody who has been through and can offer them hope and get them to a place of joy again because that's where Christ called us to live.
Yes, yes. Well, I love the fact that not only you're going to be speaking and sharing about your story, but you're also leading worship in the Truth Tour band.
Yes.
And who else is going to be joining you
Oh,
as vocalists?
okay. So my two sweet daughters, Hannah, who is 17, she's a senior this year, and I'm glad that we are taping this year, the Truth Tour, because I don't know what next year's going to bring. She's going to be leaving for college. And then my youngest, Maddie, who's 13, and they have been singing with me since they were 3 and 4. And for a mama who didn't think she was ever going to be a mama, other than I'm a stepmom, and a grandma. But for someone who didn't think she was ever going to be able to have kids, to be able to stand on stage and do the thing that my heart loves, which is worshiping my Jesus, with 2 of my 3 blessings, is just incredible to me. And so I'm so blessed to have them with me. And really, they outshine their mama so much. They have come so far. And then Alyssa Grzybowski, who is, I met her at church. She's a sweet girl, talented family. Her husband is actually producing all of this for us, and just blessed by them. And then we have a whole band that's going to be, I think James is the guy. I haven't met him yet. That'll be fun. But just so excited to be able to worship and bring my heart, which has been music I started singing when I was 4, for God. That's the gift that I can give back to him for all he has done for me. Yes. He gave me a voice, and I want to use it for him. That hasn't always been the case, but that's where I'm at. And anytime I can sing to bring him glory, I will.
Amen. So what is one thing you would want to tell a listener today if they're like on the fence about purchasing a ticket? What's one thing, since you've been with me from the very beginning,
Right.
What is one thing that you think is going to be so important about this virtual event on November 7th?
I think you just have to buy the ticket. I honestly feel that this is a God-ordained, God-driven tour. And I don't think anybody who chooses to spend time with us that day is going to walk away empty. Yes. I think their cups are going to be overflowing with gratitude and joy and hopefully a new perspective on things. This has been a tough year for a lot of people, whether it's been job loss or drama in the family, just because we're not used to being together so much.
You know that better than anybody with all of your kids teenagers home.
Oh, my goodness. So I think that now more than ever, with our country in turmoil and everything that's going on and so many people just struggling, this is your chance to choose joy. So come and buy a ticket and be part of the day. We would love to have you, and we trust that you'll be blessed.
Thank you so much for being on the chair today. And for me personally, for walking with me this entire time and kind of watching God work and move and transform what was originally supposed to be a live in-person event to now virtually. Your friendship and your prayers and everything that you've brought to this has just blessed me immensely. And thank you for being here today. And I can't wait for people to be able to see Susie not only sing, but also share her story on November 7th. It's going to be amazing. Thanks for being here today, love.
Blessings.
So what did you think? Doesn't she have an amazing heart? And I love that it's visible on her face and her tears and in her expression, just how much she loves the Lord and just how much God has worked in her life and what God is doing now. And so that was what I wanted you to see. I wanted you to see some of these authentic women that are going to be a part of this conference that have been moved by the Lord and that he has done such great things in their life, and hear a little bit about their stories and how they are just like us, right? They've experienced brokenness and hardship and have been hurt, but God breaks in every single time and turns us around and lets us know how much he loves us and puts us on a brand new path. So I'm so thankful for Susie joining us today and being a part of the conference and how she's worked in my life. I love her dearly, and I just pray that it was a blessing for you. And And I hope you'll stay tuned for next week as we interview yet another woman, and another amazing woman who is going to be a part of the conference, Lucy Jurch. You're going to love her also, and you're going to want to know more about them, and you're going to want to buy a ticket. Go to the website, amybauman.com, and you can click on the Truth Tour. Tickets start at just $20. There's also bundles available. My vision, as God was giving this to me, was, especially now that we're going virtual, is that someone would buy a bundle of 5 tickets, and they're going to invite 4 of their friends over, and they're just going to have the day being in community and a girlfriend time, or even better yet, a small group, men and women, spending the day, having some food, and learning the principles of the truth that will help them find their joy again. There are so many options available, but make sure you go and get your ticket. You are not going to want to miss this. I've loved our time together today. I just am so grateful for it. And until next time when we can be together again, be blessed.